Hello, Taurus. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And I hope all of you had beautiful birthdays. Love you, Taurus, especially my fellow Taurus risings. I hope all of you guys have done okay over the past couple of months. And I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know how things have been for you, especially with Uranus now being in Taurus, how things have changed for you. It would be interesting to hear, and I would appreciate it. But I love you guys. All right, my friends. So this one I liked, but we're still talking about some things that are going to be falling away. This is very much like the Tower, but it's talking about what happens after the fact, I think. But it does signal that sudden shifts are going to be happening. But it's going to allow you to take a stand for what you know is right for you, though. And this is what I love about this. So her last day in the light, unexpected endings, surprise changes, and sudden shifts, and then you have passion. Now, like I said, this one is very much like the Tower. It talks about how your past may be lying in ruins right now, but wherever you have been in darkness, you're going to come back into the light. The risen one is how it puts it. So things are becoming bigger and better for you, but only out of the destruction of the past. But you have to prepare for the changes that are coming, but these changes are leading into you being able to follow your passion. So passion talks about doing what you know is right for you, being authentic, taking a stand for yourself, even if you are being rejected by other people for what you choose to do. You know, it's no longer following what, other people expect of you. It's about you and what you have a passion for. But it's interesting to me because it's like if the Tower was happening with like a rainbow striking rather than lightning, that's kind of how I look at this one. But this is very much signaling that whatever sudden changes are happening, it's going to lead to, a better version of yourself, I think is the best way to put it. All right, Taurus, here we go. Here's your overall, the Eight of Pentacles. Imagine that, right? Work, work, work. Busting your ass. Now, with this being the overall, though, I always get this like feeling with the Eight of Pentacles that there's going to be more of an awareness of the type of effort that you're putting into something, right? It is attention to detail. It's refining your skills and your talents. But in terms of work, you may be doing some really hard work, but I always look at this as somebody who knows what they're doing. And typically they enjoy their work. Some of you may be working too hard, though, on the other hand, right? But the Eight of Pentacles is great in terms of seeing some financial gain for what you are working so hard at. So we'll see what's happening here. In the past, the sun. Yes, we know. So now, with the sun being the past, especially with the Eight of Pentacles being the overall, for a lot of you, you may have gotten new energy when it comes to your passion, and now you're busting your ass at it, which is great. For some of you, it's, knowing where you are headed. For others, it's new energy, new life, right? Feeling better health. And then I always look at like that childlike look at the world, right? And being happy. And hopefully this is continuing. But I also look at this as, something that is being brought out into the light of day, right? Something that is being fully revealed to you. But it's interesting how it causes you to start putting in, so much hard work and effort. In the present, the moon. Oh, this is, I think, the first time I've seen this too. Is it? No, I think I might have seen it before. Anyway, the moon being in your present moment. So where there was once light, now there are some fears, right? The moon is always talking about what is in, the dark. The moon is only lighting part of the path. There are maybe some things that you're needing to face. It always speaks to the subconscious mind too, the things that, we fear that lie in the dark that we have to deal with. Now, for some of you, it may be that there was this clear path in the past, but now you may be second guessing that. But we're talking about what isn't real, you know, unrealistic fears and anxieties. Now, on the other hand, we could be talking about, you know, somebody who's trying to cast a shadow on the truth, but it's already been revealed to you, you know, but you may not be understanding how you feel about it though. You know, but I want to see, because, you know, I would rather see the progression switched, you know. Why are you doubting what has been revealed to you? That's what I want to say. Okay, future conditions, the Ten of Cups. So there may be some questions in terms of what is going on with possibly your partnership, your marriage, your family life, right? Or just we're talking about your overall happiness, or what is, you know, going to lead you to this point. You know, there may be a lot of, you know, fear and anxiety getting to this place of the Ten of Cups. But we're talking about the happily ever after, but it's not without effort. Now, let me just say that if this is about a relationship, the Eight of Cups is not exactly the Eight of Cups. You know, that's interesting. Because when I was pre-shuffling, that is what fell out. The Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles in terms of relationships is not exactly a great thing. It's not bad, but it shows that, you know, this is the type of relationship that requires a lot of effort. You know, now for some of you, it's just, you know, you're going to work really hard to get to this place where you are happy, you are content with everything, and that you get to your happily ever after. But there is this point right now where I think a lot of you just don't see the path anymore. It's like, here it is, Taurus. Here is where you were meant to go, right? But the light can't stay with you forever. You're going to have to figure some things out. But as soon as that happens and the light dissipates, you're in this place of, well, what the hell? What happened? You know, the path like dissolves in your hands even, you know, which I love the way that they depicted this moon. But that Eight of Cups though. Oh shit. Okay, so that may be why the moon is kind of sitting there. Oh. And Taurus, it's interesting because this is exactly where the Page of Swords showed up for you in a reading a while back, where I went on my first rant about this goddamn card. The Page of Swords, though, being your best path to follow, it's really about how you handle difficult news. The Page of Swords is never good news. It's always a setback. But it requires you to put in a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, which is interesting here. But it's not that you're not willing to do it. I just think that you didn't think that this obstacle was going to be in your path. But with the Page of Swords here, this is really about how you're handling this situation. There needs to be more information. You need to ask more questions. We need to have things put into writing, right? The fine print needs to be exposed even further, right? Like you need to see all the details of something here. But you can handle this though. It may require a lot from you, but don't let this minor thing trip you up in such a big way with the moon, you know? But the thing is you're still leading to your overall happiness, which is great. No matter what we're talking about here, relationship or career. But this is just, it's minor, it's petty. Now, if we are talking about a relationship here, you know, what bothers me about this is that there is a belief that everything is clear, but there may be communication coming out that is confusing to you and you don't understand, and we need answers. We need to have this cleared up. And it may be changing the amount of effort that you're putting into, you know, certain situations. You may be more focused on what is going to make you happy rather than making everybody else happy, which is interesting because I've been getting that a lot with the Ten of Cups. I think that all of us are coming out of this phase of doing so much for everyone around us and starting to realize that, you know, maybe we need to, you know, do what makes us happy now too. And then I look back at passion and your Tower moment here. And your environment, the King of Pentacles. All right. Now, In terms of you, I think that this is great. I think that as far as career, I mean, there is definitely, you know, this clear path in front of you. But there may be something that is not so great that's going to be coming out in terms of information that may be kind of like setting you back in your career for a moment. But the thing is, you know, you're very capable of doing what is necessary to kind of get you back up on that throne, so to speak. But the King of Pentacles, I always look at as, you know, the man of success. He knows what it takes to create success and to maintain it. But we're also talking about somebody who is capable of creating, you know, successful situations. If we're talking about a relationship and this is representing the other person because of it being in your environment, you may not be understanding why, you know, they're not doing certain things that, you know, are meant to make things better, happier, you know. And there may be something going on with somebody around you though too. And that could be in terms of their career. But I don't think that you're dealing with somebody who is selfish. I think that this is more so somebody who is having self-doubts about their capabilities. And that may even be you. You know, whether you're male or female, or whether you're dealing with a male or female earth sign, you know how that goes. But there may be some questions for you as to why somebody stopped putting in effort though too. You know, you may not understand what is going on with someone right now, and they may be trying to mask the truth where things were clear before. There's a question of, well, what's really going on? Are we really working toward this happily ever after, you know? Your hopes and your fears, the Wheel of Fortune. I think that this is you hoping that, you know, things are going to turn in a much better direction, right? Fortunate events happening, even though there may be temporary setbacks. But this is also, you know, you hoping that certain things are happening in such a way that it's leading to, you know, a better situation. And that is what is happening, especially with your oracle cards here. But we need change though too, is what I feel like with this. Something needs to change and we need to get things going in a better direction. But it's not like, you know, the Chariot where you need to take control. It's circumstances and events that are out of your control. Now, for some of you, you may feel like you're just not in control of what is happening with your life or your career right now, or your relationship, right? But I would say that with the Wheel of Fortune there, it's, I think, more so you needing to remind yourself that, yeah, certain events may be happening, but it's all leading to, you know, something becoming much, much better. But I feel like change is needed and better circumstances, especially if somebody has lost their job or decides to make a sudden shift in their career, you know, and that may be you. The path was so clear before. But it's changing for a reason though too, right? Oh boy. And then coming out the Queen of Swords. Okay. Now, I think that if you are dealing with a person directly here, you know, like I've always said, the queens to me represent what we internalize. So this may be kind of like what you are feeling based on somebody that you're dealing with. And I'm looking at this person being extremely confused. And there being, you know, this information that's coming out that you're going to have to deal with, right? You may be kind of getting to the point now where it's, I'm no longer going to allow you to confuse me about what is going on with you, where you're headed, what you are choosing to put your time and effort into, and then you start to change your mind about that too. But the thing is the goal here is for you to lead to your overall happiness. And again, whether you're dealing with another person or not, but you're still coming out into this place where we're not playing games anymore. I don't want to have to ask questions. Everything should have been out in the open, especially with the Moon and the Page of Swords being there. And it makes sense that she's coming out. And then you have the Knight of Cups. Oh, and it would make sense, right? If you've been through the Ten of Swords, what are you doing coming back? The Knight of Cups should never approach the Queen of Swords ever. He's gonna get his ass hurt. Oh God. All right, so Taurus, let me just say that, you know, whatever it was that you were expecting, it's not going to come through in the way that you want it to, and it creates a very difficult ending. But the thing is that, you know, there may be a better offer coming through with the Knight of Cups, but I also think that this is the same person here that you may be dealing with. But, you know, I don't like the tact, right? Like they could have taken a different, they could have acted in a different way rather than being the Knight of Cups, because this is a little bit too flaky for me, which, you know, would, again, makes sense as to why the Queen of Swords is coming out. My God, if I could spit it out. Okay, here we go, Taurus. The Sun, again, everything was clear. In the past, everything was clear. The path was right there. There it is. Everything is out in the open. Feel great. Boom. Now, with the Three of Wands, it's like, I expect this to come to me, especially based on all the hard work and the effort that's being put through. But it doesn't show up. Instead of what should have showed up, you get the Ten of Swords, and that may be where the confusion is coming through. But I think it's directly related to somebody that you're dealing with. I still don't think that we're talking about somebody who is being selfish. Now, yeah, for some of you, yeah, that could be the case here. But I think that, you know, this is somebody that is really having a hard time with, you know, themselves and what they're capable of doing, you know, especially if they've taken a hard hit in their career. And that may be where the Ten of Swords is coming through. Like everything was set out, especially with the Sun, but here it is like over with, and it sucks ass, right? Now, with the Knight of Cups, though, this may be the problem, though, because if we're talking about a person that you're dealing with and their personality, they may have been like this before, where it's just like, I'm following where, you know, my heart is leading me, but where it led them before was to this Ten of Swords, and you're like, oh no, we're not doing that again. Now, if this is somebody who is confused about the way that they feel because they don't know what they really want or what they're capable of creating for themselves, they may have ended things with you, and it may have made you pretty angry, right? With the Queen of Swords, I don't want to play this game anymore, right? But with the Knight of Cups and the Ten of Cups, I would say that it is going to take a lot of hard work for you guys to get back to a better place. Now, if this is just about you in terms of your career, I think that you're no longer going to be so willing to accept things from people who flake out on you, right? Like, we're not going to accept business offers that lead to, you know, these kinds of endings where it's like, well, shit, you know, what do I do now? That's kind of what I feel like with this. But if this is relationship, man, oh, this person deserves what's coming to them. Like I said, especially if you're the Queen of Swords. But this, I think, may be your sudden shock, though. Especially if you've dealt with somebody who ended things with you and they're coming back through. But there may be a feeling of people not understanding why you're even like entertaining the possibility of doing this again, which may be where passion is coming through, right? But you have to stand up for yourself. But there are some things that have to be answered, though, I think, with that Page of Swords. And then intention, right? Needing to know the truth of intentions. But I think that, you know, in terms of having to deal with difficult situations, it's going to be important for you to spend some time reconnecting and being a little bit more grounded, understanding what is grounding you. It's not the root chakra, but it's pretty fucking close with Earth. You know, because there are even practices where people will take all the negative energy and just let the Earth take it, right? But I really think that this is about you needing to be a little bit more in tune with your surroundings. Even if that means you need to go sit under a fucking tree for a little bit. You know, I do it. It makes me feel better. But anyway, once there is more grounding here, I think, for you, however you choose to meditate, there is going to be truth in the intentions moving forward. But I think that it's more important for you to be truthful with yourself on, you know, what your intentions are. You know, because you can't be in a place of, if somebody or something is coming back through to you of, you know, I don't know if I want to do this, or I'm going to do this and then I'm going to back out on it, right? There's no wishy-washy with this. You have to be clear, and you have to set better intentions for yourself, though, too. which may be, you know, why you're needing to take a time out to meditate here so you can see the truth, right? You know, and I think Scorpio got this too. Wondrous universe, walk in beauty. Be open to new experiences. Deal with difficulties with grace and gratitude, right? One of the things that I talk about with the Page of Swords is that the positive aspect here is that you're able to deal with difficult information with grace and intelligence, right? So be graceful about how you handle the situation, but also be grateful for, you know, the joy that you do experience, right? Because it's going to open up into more joyful experiences, which will make you look at the universe differently. And walking in beauty in earth. Wow, Taurus, I would really love to hear from you guys on how this one is playing out for you. Because this is in depth. And it's such a beautiful reading, though. But, you know, I look at that Queen of Swords and I smile, right? Because I've been saying that a lot lately, that, you know, that's kind of where I'm headed right now, is the Queen of Swords. Not in reverse, though, right? We're not being a bitch. But we're not playing games anymore, though, either.